Hello, and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric, and with me today is
I'm Lee.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Dan.
another week in the Central past the 40 game mark. We just had Rivalry Weekend, and we're fired up about it, right? That's the rivalries we all wanted that we saw this weekend, right? Yeah,
Totally.
At least one of us.
that silence means something.
A rivalry weekend that doesn't have the Yankees Red Sox is definitely a good rivalry weekend, right?
Yes, just Yankees Mets took over.
I'm willing to.
Or Dodgers.
I'm willing. Go ahead.
Or Dodgers Padres. It has to have that.
Nope, just forced corporate rivalry. But we'll talk about that later. But those are my quick thoughts on it. But that's fine. If other people enjoyed it, who am I to say? But so we're just gonna jump right into the news. Detroit's still leading the division. So Lee, tell us there's actually some bad news going on in Detroit. What's going on here?
Yeah. So Reese Olson is out with a right ring finger inflammation is the thing. Hopefully it's going to be pretty short is the optimism for that. Because in the Toronto game, he pitched 6 innings. He was doing really well, and then he was pulled, and everyone's like, well, why did we pull him? And then we lost that game. And we pulled him because he was injured, apparently. And I guess Toronto is just cursed ground for Reese Olson because last year, after the All-Star break, he pitched in Toronto and then went on the injured list. So never let Reese Olson pitch in Toronto is a lesson there. So we pulled up Chase Lee for a little bit of bullpen relief. Casey Mize is pretty much confirmed to be coming back this Saturday. So we did a bullpen day today for some pitching chaos, and then it's probably going to be Montero filling in spot number 5 because we're going to have Mize back in the rotation there. So, but that sucks. Hopefully, it's just 15-day stint. Just miss a few starts but right fourth finger sprain. It's a fun one. I like all the weird little pitcher injuries where it's like my pinky finger hurts.
Is it this one?
It's this one, the fourth finger.
Oh,
so yeah. It's always funny when they say like the fourth metatarsal and it's like the fourth finger, but they can't say his pinky finger.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm an idiot, but like 1, 2, like isn't this the fourth? Isn't this the fourth one?
Your thumb is your thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's the right ring finger.
Why don't they just call it that then?
Wait, is it the fourth finger or the third finger?
They said the fourth finger is the ring finger, so that's the fourth finger. So I think they do 2, 3, 4, and then the pinky is 5.
No, the thumb would be the thumb. If it were the thumb, they'd say it would be the thumb. But the index finger is the first finger.
Look, man, they said the fourth. One report says fourth finger strain. The other report says right ring finger sprain. So I'm going to say they're calling the right ring finger the finger number 4, and they're including the thumb as finger number 1.
I love the idea of someone in med school or someone with a medical degree listening to that and just like exploding.
Well, I play guitar, and in guitar it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So.
Well, in baseball, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Lucy.
Point is, his right finger. One of his fingers hurts, so he's going on the 15-day.
An undisclosed finger.
It's this one, everyone.
I was waiting to make that joke, and
that would be the third finger.
Good job, Eric.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. So today they did good old pitching chaos, and then it's probably going to Montero's going to stay in the rotation for now. It seems. Brought Chase Lee up for some bullpen reinforcements in case we need to do any more pitching chaos. But we also have Jake Rogers. The stash is back. Tomas Nido, thank you for your service. You have been DFA'd because he doesn't have any more options. I'm assuming the organization wants to keep him within the organization. He's just out of options, and so has to be put on waivers and all that. I'm assuming they're going to move him to AAA. He was actually pretty good for us. Like he had some good hitting. He was decent behind the plate. So good for him. Uh, bigger news. Parker Meadows has begun playing baseball again. He's doing his rehab in Lakeland. I also love the starting lineup. But this is for the Tigers single A team. It's got Wenzel Perez, Parker Meadows, and Matt Bierling uh, all on injury rehab assignments in this single A team. So they're going to bully some 19-year-old pitcher today.
Hey, that's
Where is
against the Twins single A affiliate, and no, they won't. How dare you?
where is that? The Tigers single A team?
Lakeland, Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's where we do the spring training.
Is their name the Flying Tigers? Is that what this is?
Yes, they're the Lakeland Flying Tigers.
Why?
Damn.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, I can't. The Twins are the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, so like I have no room to talk here. But what the hell is a Flying Tiger?
It's a tiger with wings. What more do you need?
Now, has that always been the case, or did things, because like with the Royals, the minor league teams got really shaken up with the minor league realignment in 21, was that?
Yeah, so I know it was fairly recent. I got mixed up. I had to check the history for it, but I know
I think it was 22 because that's when the Saints became the Twins AAA, and I think that's
that
when they realigned.
that sounds right. If I look on their history, I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, because the Royals kept the same AAA and AA teams, but then everything below that was just completely all over the place.
Twins reversed
Yeah.
it. They actually got, like, Houston, I think, was getting a brand new AA team, the Wichita Wind Surge, and then the Twins just got them with a brand new stadium, so they timed that out well. And then the Saints were independent league and just decided they wanted to be affiliated with the Twins, so now they're 15 minutes away from their major league team, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it looks like they were reassigned in 21 during the restructuring. Because I think our previous single A was in Connecticut. But I like barely.
The Hartford Yard Goats, I bet.
I don't know. It's the single A team. It's new and doesn't really pay too close. I don't really pay too close attention to those. So yeah, but the Lakeland Flying Tigers. Yeah, that lineup is stacked.
I'm certain Detroit has a history in Lakeland because this is very dumb, but I remember Dontrell Willis getting demoted to single A Lakeland at one point when he was with the Tigers in like 2008. I remember thinking that was so hilarious at the time, but perhaps they came and went. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Lakeland is where our spring training facilities are at.
Because I thought, like, if you were in the Grapefruit League, or if you were, Grapefruit League, like, the Twins kept theirs, it'd be difficult because you already had your minor league, like, your facility there. So, I don't know. Like, I didn't think a lot of teams changed their single A team, but I don't know. Who knows? I know they got rid of low A, correct? No, they got rid of rookie ball.
They got rid of low A is what they got rid of. Rookie ball still exists. But
yeah, it's rookie, single, high, double, triple.
Yeah, rookie ball now is just extended spring training.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. And then a little bit more of minor league news for the Tigers is that so for those out of the loop, a couple weeks ago, John Oliver on Last Week Tonight did a bit on minor league teams and the dumb promotion that they do. And at the end, he said that he and his team will pick one minor league team to completely rebrand. This is the quote. "We are willing to use all our resources and stupidity to give one minor league baseball team a total rebrand. We will give you a new team name, a new mascot. We will even throw you a theme night. It will be personalized and it will be bespoke. You can't ask us any questions, give us any notes, and you have to do what we come up with." But apparently 47 minor league teams applied, and he picked the Erie Seawolves, the Tigers' AA affiliates. So that's going to be fun. One of the reasons that they were picked is that the Erie Seawolves play nowhere near the sea. They play by Lake Erie, but they don't play by the sea. They have the Seawolves branding because they were previously affiliated with the Pirates and kind of carried over. But that's exciting for for them. It's pretty funny reading the article about it because like the president of the Seawolves was like, we don't know what to expect either. We have a lot of questions, but we haven't gotten a lot of answers. So that's pretty funny.
Has anyone seen that clip of Oliver talking about he says minor league baseball is like it's bad, but in the best possible ways. Like it's like that charming. It's so good. It's almost like watching a bad movie type thing. It's really funny. You should watch. He talks about the St. Paul Saints too. It's good. It's worth looking at.
Yeah, because the minor league teams do a whole bunch of dumb promotions all the time, and he highlighted the one team in I think Portland or somewhere in Oregon that once a year rebrands into the Exploding Whales because of this one time a whale was beached. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I went on some alternative websites, found the clip because I don't subscribe to HBO Max because I'm not in my 40s. So I went and watched the bit. It was pretty funny. But
you have to be in your 40s to be subscribed to Max.
I don't watch late night television.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, as someone who is like getting eerily near the 40s, can we like not make that sound like it's an eternity? Like
that would be bad.
Bad. Yeah, like it's fine.
Okay, sure. Sorry, my deepest apologies to everyone listening who's in their 40s.
Again, I'm near 40. I'm 36.
Or near 40. How about
actually,
that?
I'm almost 37. That's not great. Shoot. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop that thought now before I start. I'm going to get a Harley next week is what I'm saying.
I'm almost 28. I'm just going to start telling people I'm 30.
Yeah. Start gearing up for it because it's a mind.
Yeah, I'm just gearing up for it. I'm just going to start telling people I'm 30 years old.
I'm 23, so
enjoy the last year in your early 20s. You're about to enter your mid 20s.
Oh, what's a freaky thought?
Yeah, tell me about it. Wait until you get to 26 and realize you're now leaving your mid 20s. It only gets worse.
Wait until you get old enough that you realize that almost everyone who's playing baseball is much younger than you. You think about what you were doing at that age, and you're like, oh shit.
It's been weird where now all the players coming up are younger than me, or like younger than my little sister, and I'm like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me tell you about how today or like this year, I was looking. Oh, Carlos Santana is so effing old. Like, why? How is he still playing? Oh, he's 1 year younger than me. Crap. Like, that sucks.
That's rough.
It is. Yeah. That's okay. Anyway, moving on. Not that I don't want to talk about our near midlife crises or mine coming up, but the Twins are in second place, so I can talk about them second. Isn't that exciting? I'm going to start off with some good news and then some pretty bad news. Matt Wallner starting a rehab assignment tonight. He was in the lineup. I checked about a half hour before we started to record. I'm going to assume he's going to be fine. He did have I think it was whatever the middle range hamstring strain is. The downside is he's playing in Minnesota right now, which the weather has not been great for about 2 weeks. So it's still wet, damp, everything you want to be to work out a hamstring. But he's playing DH. We'll see what happens. And now for not the best news for me. But you know what? We enjoyed a $52 million collision in Minnesota, and for those who haven't seen it, I'm going to show the clip, and it's not pretty. So this happened in the Baltimore series, and Chris Paddock on the mound, Cedric Mullins, those two collide. Correa and Buxton hit really hard together, and it's not even. That's a scary collision. One, it's amazing Buxton held onto the ball. They're both on the ground for a couple of minutes. They're going to show the replay here. They knock heads, like, at the worst possible moment. There's never a good moment to knock heads, but Buxton's at near full speed and right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. Correa was down for a couple of minutes. Buxton got up, actually finished the inning, and then like got into the dugout, and then they took him out. They're both in the 7-day concussion protocol. Sounds like they're doing all right or better, but it was for a team that was still in the middle of a 13-game winning streak. Those two going down, really, it was a won the battle, may have lost the war type feeling, because they had a couple weeks ago. I went on a rant about how the Twins bench was nothing but AAA players. That only got worse. Now, what I will say about their bench, it is overperforming. Not amazingly, but some of the players I called out was Jonah Bride, who is hitting. He's basically a league average hitter, which for someone they claimed off of waivers, perfectly fine. Like, you can't be disappointed in that. Christian Vasquez, who has been a severe disappointment, is basically his entire Twins tenure. His last 7 games, he's hitting .669, which isn't impressive, but considering he had a 43 OPS plus, like around like the 500 OPS, we'll take it. Cody Clemens, his slash line is 297, 381, 622. His OPS is over 1,000.
He hit cleanup today.
He hit and though if you with 1,000 OPS, he should be, because he had a triple, which was a very generous triple by Nolan Jones, but he still hit it. And I think he had the game-winning double over, was it Martinez in center?
Yeah. Yep.
So will that happen for much longer? Probably not. But Cody Clemens probably bought himself another 2-year career in the majors, like bouncing back in between. So good for him.
Where was this version of Cody Clemens sitting all this time? Like, he was on the Tigers for like 2 years. We never saw a lick of this.
I don't think Cody Clemens knows where it's coming from. He's got a hot streak.
His highlight on the Tigers is striking out Shohei Ohtani as a position player pitching. That's his highlight on this team.
Well, now he's had multiple like game-altering home runs, a walk-off hit, and then like a game-tying triple. It's been fun to watch. Do I expect him to be on the team in August? Probably not, but we'll see.
But he'll be a future remember when on this show. Like,
it will be
5 years from now.
Yep.
When Cody Clemens completely saved the Twins with their $52 million worth of payroll sitting on the IL. Which, let's be honest, that's not the first time that's happened to the Twins. Who they called up, like, they're good stories, but they called up a 31-year-old rookie, Ryan Fitzgerald. He made his debut. It's a great story. He has a mullet, great hair, slick fielding, shortstop. That's great. Can't expect anything from him. The one that's kind of, I won't even say exciting, intriguing. There is a guy in the Saints that is tearing up AAA. And I will tell you, I'll put this a caveat on it. The AAA affiliate where the Saints play, CHS Field, is a launching pad. They have a short porch. Like, you will see their OPSs around 800 most of the year. So you need to look at a 900 OPS in St. Paul to be like, okay, that's a good hitter, because like it's ridiculous how hitter friendly it is. But with that said, a man named Carson McCuster, similar to Fitzgibbon, went undrafted out of college. He was signed out of independent league. He's 26 years old, and you will notice he is 6'8", 250 pounds, and looks like this at the plate.
Wow.
That is a big man.
That man is all legs. That's a lot of legs.
That's not an outfielder. That's a power forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's actually I don't know if you saw this, Dan, but in the game on Tuesday that got rained out, he threw his bat, I think, 100 feet into the outfield. Like,
I did not see that.
That bat flew. Like, there was a podcast I listened to. The joke was, how long until he hits a ball farther than the bat that he threw. But, so with him, it's a good story. I grazed past his stats in AAA just because just point out the 6'8", but his OPS this year, he's hit 10 home runs. He's hitting 350. His OPS is over 1062. It took a lot of injuries for him to get a chance. He's probably only going to get like 20 at bats and then never heard from again, but he made it. Good for him. Like, it's a great story. But who's to say he doesn't also hit 3 home runs in the next couple weeks and stays? Like, that would also be awesome, but we'll see. Outside of that, during the winning streak, they had a 33 inning scoreless streak that was really led by somehow Chris Paddock. And Dan, you saw him today. We'll talk about that briefly. But Chris Paddock, for as good as the stat line has looked since the start of the season, he's getting excellent results, but he shouldn't. Like, he's not striking people out. He's not missing bats. His velocity's up and down. Like, he's getting the results. You got to give him credit for it. But I don't still have that much faith in him. But that's fine. So yeah, and then Joe Ryan and then Pablo Lopez, the other two carried that into. I'd say there was kind of a surprise move in that we talked last week that Simeon Woods-Richardson might be in danger of losing his job eventually. Well, eventually turned out to be the next day. I don't want to say it's surprising, but like, you can but Simeon Woods-Richardson, as much as he saved the Twins last year at the back end of the rotation when they had no pitching, he just hasn't looked that great since like September. Like, he either ran out of gas, he hasn't been sharp. He's been hit hard a lot this year. You can debate if Simeon Woods-Richardson lost the rotation spot or if a person who I talked about at the beginning of the year, Zebby Matthews, who I'm going to pull up here, won the spot. Zebby has been killing AAA in a good way, but it hasn't exactly translated to the majors. So they called him up. He played against the Brewers on Sunday when the 33-inning streak left. He is an extreme strike thrower, and you'll even notice in this box right here, this is his OPS against. Boy, that is a whole lot of where you don't want the ball. But he does throw 96. He has above average fastball. He throws hard. But I think the issue is he doesn't really have a secondary pitch. And if you only throw a fastball, you will get hit in the majors. And I also kind of suspect his fastball might be more hittable than others, like other fastballs in the game. So, but he's exciting. He's an upside play. If he can put it all together, he can be like a building block guy over the next couple of years. So
could his future be in the bullpen considering his lack of repertoire?
If he doesn't develop a third pitch, yes. And I think that would be really, because that was Joan Duran's way. Duran was a starter up until AAA, and then he got injured. But that's when he was throwing a little harder than what Zebby is throwing right now. He was throwing 99, 100 before then. And then when he moved to the bullpen, he was the 104, 105 guy. That's gone away. This year, he's now throwing about 101, which is still plenty of fastball. Don't get me wrong. But yes, he could be a bullpen guy.
Isn't that everyone's story who's in the bullpen?
Yes.
Everyone comes into the league as a start. Like, very rarely do you see someone who comes into professional baseball as a reliever.
Mm-hmm.
So, bullpens are full of guys who had like 2 good pitches and then couldn't get a third. But that's what some of the best relievers are. Guys who can throw 1 or 2 pitches really well. I mean, the Tigers bullpen, it's full of guys like that.
Right. Well, not like the best example I have for the Twins is, did anyone remember Liam Hendricks was on the Twins?
He was on the Twins? When?
Oh, let me show you the Savant page because he was.
Does anybody remember that Liam Hendricks was on the Royals?
I don't actually. Has he been to
every? He made his debut with the Royals, if I remember correctly.
Okay, now I have to look up his reference.
I'm going to pull it up here because I just want to show you how bad he was, because he was brutal for the Twins. So debuted for the Twins. Here's his stat line. Racked up a whole -2 WAR. His FIP was 538. Just got hammered. 11 hits per 9. Didn't strike anyone out. Looked horrible. And the Twins, everyone, we just talked about, if you don't have a starting pitcher that doesn't work out that well, you move him to the bullpen. They didn't do that. Just cut him. A couple years later, he shows up in Oakland throwing fire and has been one of the best relievers in baseball for the last 5-6 years. So yeah, that was fun. Even got Cy Young votes in 2020. Isn't that keen? So that's kind of all I had for the Twins. Let's see.
At least their stupid winning streak is over. Those irritate me. I don't know why, but they irritate me how the Twins always go on, oh, we're just going to randomly win 12 games in a row.
Yeah, try watching that, because there's going to be a year they're going to start off slow and not have the 12-game winning streak, and then it's just, the season's just gone.
Can't give us a 12-game losing streak, give us something a little bit more.
What's your team's record? And you want to complain about the Twins?
I'm just saying it's annoying watching you guys always.
It's annoying that we've had 2 weeks of baseball when we haven't had 7 weeks of good baseball. Oh no, I'm so sorry, V.
They did the same thing last year. This is why it's annoying now. Also, the Twins' Twitter account annoyed me because they posted one of the scores when they won, and they said the grit. I'm like, stop it! That's our thing. You can't steal it.
The what?
That's grit.
What?
That's they with like the they post the final score and they say grit and the.
Are you trying to steal one of the most basic words in the English language?
No, I'm just saying that's like the Tigers things. You can't steal it from us.
When did Detroit become so entitled? I'm just wondering. When did this happen?
This is the AL Central. We all live in the Midwest. We all do the whole blue collar.
This is true.
We're gonna.
Hey, whatever, man.
I'm
just saying. It was
you know what, Eric?
Which is fine. Okay. We should all do it, but we all do it.
Yeah, I was just saying it was mildly annoying that you guys they started doing that, and I'm like, no, that's our thing. Stop trying to steal it.
I'm sure someone will come out and bail out Detroit, Eric. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
Whatever, man.
Whatever, man.
We'll go into the Royals.
Yeah. Before
and in the words of James May, it's bad news for the Royals, as both Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo were placed on the injured list. This happened on the same day. This is a bad day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is 0 out of 10 for this news. Reagans had not been really looking like himself in the last several starts. And a couple weeks ago when I went to the game, he was pulled after, I think it was 4 innings, because he had some groin tightness, which is something that he's dealt with before, some lower body injuries of that nature. And then Seth Lugo was also put on the injured list with a third finger strain.
We can't talk about that again.
We
can't go down that rabbit hole.
We'll just an undisclosed finger was strained. And he went on the injured list the same day. Not great. 15-day IL for both of them. Like I said, Reagans had been dealing with this a little bit previously, and I would imagine that it's probably something that they made the determination that him just missing a start wasn't gonna fix. So, and with Lugo, I have no idea where that came from, the finger injury. But with both of them, it's a good sign that it is not an arm injury. Mm-hmm. It's a finger injury and a groin injury. Obviously, if they were both having a much more serious pitcher injury, I'd be a lot more worried. But I think for both of them, we'll see them again, and hopefully it will be a short absence. But it's the exact kind of thing that you don't want to have happen, especially when you're not doing as well as you were. And it may be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because talking about, especially with Seth Lugo, there's a lot of miles on those tires. And him missing some time with a non-arm injury, at least for him and for his longevity this season, might not be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Same thing with Reagans, missing a little bit of time with a lower body injury may not be the end of the world, but it's still something that you don't want to see. So
it just sucks that they both happen on like the same day, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's injuries. Pretty much every pitcher almost have 50% of pitchers go on the IL at some point during the season, but like losing 2 of your starters at the same time, it sucks.
And I believe that One of them was retroactive I think a couple days before. So it's possible that they just did this so that like the roster stuff and the transaction stuff would work a little bit better, because that is definitely something that happens. But it's a blow. It's definitely a blow. But with that being said, the Royals lost another pitcher this week, and it was good news because Chris Stratton's time as a Kansas City Royal has come to an end. He was signed during the offseason in 2024. He came off of a World Series winning team with the 2023 Texas Rangers and signed to the Royals for a big contract. He signed a 2-year, $8 million contract. $4.5 million of those dollars were due this year. And in 2024, he was pretty much one of the worst pitchers ever. Pitched 17 innings, gave up 15 earned runs, 17 runs total. So 17 innings, 17 runs. Good
Right.
pace there, 1 run an inning. That's what you're looking for. And of course, last season he had a 5.55 ERA. He was able to improve on that this year with a 7.94 ERA. So getting those numbers pointed in the right direction. Obviously, as we all know, a higher number is better.
Hey, his FIP went
And
down.
I was about to say his FIP isn't doing it. It's not great, but like it's playable. I think. Does he had a lot of bad luck or like hard hits given up?
I mean, 15 hits per 9 there? My goodness.
Yeah, that's
That whip, I think that's the worst whip
yeah.
I've seen in a long
pretty
time.
rough.
Dear God.
Yeah. So, you can find someone who's not playing well, and you can find one stat and be like, "Oh,
right.
that's not too bad." But when all the other stats
Yeah.
are that bad, it's tough to justify that. So he was DFA'd by the team, and it was about time. It needed to happen. He was just a complete nothing in the bullpen, and every time he came in, you just said, "Well, we're losing this game," because either it meant that the lead was going to be given up, or that you were losing so badly that they were bringing him in.
Mm.
So pretty bad, pretty much just a complete albatross out of the bullpen, Chris Stratton. So good that the team sort of took their medicine with that and sent him packing. But with that being said, in replacement of Lugo, Reagans, and Stratton, the Royals have called up Evan Sisk, Jonathan Bolin, and Noah Cameron. Noah Cameron, who we've talked about a couple times on this program, has had 2 very good starts for the Royals, giving up 1 run across 12.2 innings. Bolin came up, has not gave up a run today in a bullpen game, pretty good. And then Sisk, same thing, has looked pretty good in a couple appearances so far with the Royals. So yeah, that's what I have to agree with that interpretation of Evan Sisk right there,
Thank
Eric,
you for
because
acknowledging that.
he looks like the Royals took their medicine, and Evan Sisk kind of looks like he's taking his medicine too.
not
Um,
it's not only the eyes. That mustache
the
is
mustache, yeah,
atrocious. A pencil thin mustache in 2025. He should
yeah.
It's
be
a choice.
ashamed.
hmm Um, but he's looked good in his couple of appearances. So those 3 guys have looked pretty good here and there over their couple innings that they've had with the Royals. So overall, some bad news followed by some good news. But at least the guys who are here to, at least the cavalry is doing its job. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least some of these guys stick around for a little while this season. And all in all, not the end of the world, but I think it'll be something that we'll have to keep an eye on and see if they can weather the storm. So
Yeah. Dan, what's going on in Cleveland?
So first, Sam, I was thinking the good news was going to be about the Dacia Sandero, but turns out it wasn't.
Thank
I just
you.
appreciate somebody else on this pod knows who James May is.
Yes, thank you. That was more for my dad when he hears that because we used to watch Top Gear together all the time. But I'm glad you picked up on that one.
Shout out to your dad. Top Gear's my comfort show. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I'm going to start with something that was a topic of conversation last week when we got together, which was the Guardians had an opening in the starting rotation that was caused when Ben Lively was put on the IL last week. And there was a question as to who was going to fill into that spot. And ultimately, as mentioned last week, Slade Ciccone, who was the main player that was received in the Josh Naylor trade, ended up filling that void this past weekend. I believe he pitched Saturday. And decent start out of him, in his Guardians debut. 5+ innings, allowed 3 runs, struck out 8, and my goodness, the thing that I can't emphasize enough, no walks. 0 walks, which is night and day for how the Guardians rotation has pitched so far this year. But anyway, decent start. He did allow a home run to Will Benson, but we led off talking about the rivalry week and how we were kind of lukewarm on it. Will Benson wasn't lukewarm on the rivalry week. He hit 4 home runs against the Guardians in 3 games. So Ciccone giving up one of those 4. He wasn't the only guy to suffer at the hands of Will Benson. But decent start. Third time through the order didn't start very well for Ciccone. Again, he's not also stretched out all the way, only threw 77 pitches. But they got him out after maybe the second or third hitter that third time around. And most of those runs that he allowed were that third time through. A couple of those guys scored, some of which were inherited by the relievers that came after him. Anyway, decent start. Open-minded to seeing how he does. What I've read a little bit on the internet is he looks significantly better than he looked in Arizona. Again, it was 5 innings, right. So more to come there. Additionally, this week, a couple pieces of information. One other positive. David Fry, postseason hero, one of Lee's best friends from last year, started a rehab assignment this week. He's swinging the bat again in Double-A Akron. And it's good news. He's a lot of people think of him as like a platoon specialist. I personally don't. I think he can hit both sides and could be a very useful part of the Guardians offense here in the near future. But there is a bit of a question on when he's ready to go, he can only DH right now. Mm. He had elbow surgery. He can't throw a baseball yet. He will be able to. In fact, his goal is to be able to catch again. He was supremely useful last year in that he was a super utility guy. He not only could he catch, he could play either corner outfield, either corner infield. He won't be doing any of those, though, for the time being. And with Manzardo on the roster, with Carlos Santana on the roster, all 3 of those guys aren't going to be able to play at the same time. So there's a question there. Who would lose the playing time? Santana has been better in May, but hasn't been he's been just fine. Yeah. So perhaps that's where the at-bats come from. But there is a bit of a question of, okay, what do we do with Fry once we get him? I think this is probably going to be an extended rehab anyway. It's not going to be a quick 3-5 days. They got a little bit of time to figure it out. And sometimes these things have ways of working themselves out. So the good news is he's swinging a bat again and hopefully doing it well down in Double-A.
Maybe I've just been sleeping on David Fry, but I didn't realize he had an 804 OPS last year as a catcher.
He was an all-star last year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No, and again, he played most days in a super utility role, and it was really nice to have a spare catcher in case you needed. Particularly last week we talked about like positional flexibility.
Yeah.
But also, Vogt would do a lot of mixing and matching. There were games where Fry would play like 3 different positions in the same game just because somebody got pinch hit for or pinch ran for or whatever. So lots of good stuff there. But we're not going to get it this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then lastly, bit of bad news to go with all the good news. Travis Bazzana, Guardians' first overall pick last year. He is at, I believe, AA, and he suffered a right internal oblique strain and has been placed on the IL down at AA. The biggest news in this is that there was some outside chance that perhaps we would see Bazzana this year towards the end of the year if kind of things were going well. He got some at bats under his belt. I don't see that happening at this point. And I was somebody that was kind of skeptical that would happen anyway. But I think any chance now, like this injury is going to keep him out long enough where he's just not going to have enough seasoning. I think it helps that Schneemann and Arias have been as good as they have been, and so maybe there's not the rush to get him here anyway. We still haven't seen Juan Brito, who was figured to be part of the second base equation this year. We haven't needed to. So not the end of the world, but you'd like to not see your first overall pick get injured in his first year of pro ball. So yeah. I'll end on one other item, which is just a brief item, which is the Guardians were in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, and that ended about 3 hours ago. And I don't know if you want to use that as a segue, Eric, you can. If not, that's okay too. But just good to get off the schneid.
Yeah, let's get over it.
One quick piece of news that I forgot.
Yeah.
Caglione was called to AAA, called up from AA to AAA.
Oh, nice.
The real news will be when he gets called up to the Royals. So.
Right.
I saw a lot of Royals Twitter wants him on the Royals now.
I mean, he's playing outfield, right?
Yeah. Why not? At
if only you had a massive black hole in right field you could fill with someone.
Yeah. Yeah. If only the Royals had multiple glaring problems in their lineup, then maybe we could call him in. But, I mean, who cares? Bobby Witt Jr. played 62 games in AAA before he was called up. So,
yeah, sometimes guys will just do AAA for like 3 weeks and then they'll get pulled up. Like Jackson Jobe had like 4 starts in AAA. So,
yeah, they need to. But
so, moving on to the Twins Guardian series. One, the baseball gods do not want Cleveland and Minnesota to play either on time or ever, because we had one series to recap this week, and we can't even do that until September now because they got a game suspended on Tuesday, postponed Wednesday, and then they finished the game from Monday this afternoon in a double header. So it's been a weird day of baseball. But there's one particular stat that the Twins broadcast showed, and with Royce Lewis's facial expression and the stat at the bottom of the screen, I think it fits up very nicely how Minnesota feels about placing the Guardians. Royce Lewis looks like he has gone through some stuff. The stat at the bottom is the Minnesota Twins are 4-17 versus Cleveland in the last 21 games decided by 21 runs or less. Underneath that, a 9-game losing streak in 1-run games. And that tracks.
But does it? Because that statistic right there got the reverse whammy today.
It did.
That was purposeful.
Yes, that's actually
ironically,
so
the double. The Twins won the 1-run game. The Guardians won by 4.
Yeah.
So,
except the game that was suspended, like that weird game, they had Joe Ryan start for the Twins, and they had Gaddis?
No, it was Junis. They kind of look alike, but it was Junis. Yeah.
So they started. Joe Ryan starts in the 4th for his relief appearance. Gets all the way up to the 9th. The Twins are up 5-2. And if there's one team that will always come back in the 9th inning, it's the goddamn Cleveland Guardians. And wouldn't you know? Say, Dan, do you remember who hit the game-tying double?
I actually do. I do. It was a Naylor brother. It was Bo Naylor. Yeah. So while you're collecting yourself there, I thought about that, and I think I don't like Rocco Baldelli. I've mentioned that before. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, but it's out there now. That was a good move to throw Ryan. I was curious if either team would throw a starter in the fourth, and I think I kind of feel like Vogt went to his B team relievers, even though they were only down one, and it kind of felt like we were okay losing the game. And I think that's a little extreme, but I would have been curious to do that a different way. So good call by Rocco. It worked out.
I felt the same way because, like, as much as the Twins will not admit that facing Cleveland is like the boogeyman right now, it has to. They've had so many heartbreaking losses against the same team. They had a 1-run lead after the game was suspended. It had to have been like, let's just win this one. Like, can we pull this one off? And then they pull away. And like it took Nolan Jones, who took a real risk with a diving catch in center field in the fourth that basically cost Cleveland 2 runs. One on the triple scored a run, and then they sac flied the triple in that inning, and then they got up 5-2. And I like Rocco, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm fine with him. I don't think he's the greatest manager. He's like a B manager to me. I like the way he uses the bench. Once in a while, he does something weird with the bullpen, but in general, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. But
How long has he been in Minnesota for?
It's 2019. I think he's the most tenured manager in the division.
To be fair, I don't dislike Rocco because I think he's a bad manager. I think it's weird rivalry stuff. I kind of view him as like the Karen of managers, if that makes sense. I just think he's annoying.
Interesting. Why? Go into that. I'm curious.
He just always has some stipulation he wants to talk to the umpires about whenever we play you guys, I feel like it dates back to when he made the home plate umpire rub his hand through James Karinchak's hair a bunch of years ago and found nothing, by the way.
All right, let's talk about James Karinchak, because there was some shady, like, that was not just because of that game.
It wasn't in his hair, Eric, so
okay, that game it wasn't, but like James Karinchak taking 40 seconds between pitches, rubbing his hair and his belt and everything. He was
just a fidgety guy. Relax.
No, he wasn't. He was the, I don't want to say like the poster child for sticky stuff, because that was clearly who was the guy for the oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name.
Pineda. Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Pineda had it like Pineda when we was with the Yankees. Mm-hmm. If you remember that, he had that huge spot, and he played
twice.
Yeah, yeah, they got him
twice.
You know what's interesting is like I never thought of that, because Rocco is like on the field a very mellow guy if you watch the Twins entirely, but he has like 3 times a year he does explode. I didn't realize most of those were against Cleveland. But yeah, the Karinchak.
It just feels like, oh, Rocco's going out to talk to the umpires about something again. I wonder what this is about. Like, I don't know.
You can be right, but the Karinchak thing, I will push back hard on that, because he was clearly.
He was probably doing something, but hey, you know what? Rocco was wrong, everyone. So, no,
he was wrong that time.
I'm not with that. It's just, if you're gonna call somebody out like that, you better be right, and he wasn't. So
one of the funniest side effects we got from the crackdown on sticky stuff is umpires having to touch players all over the place. Like, how many times did we see, like, when that one ump had to, go through Scherzer's sweaty head, and like the ear thing with Musgrove in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, because he put was it buffalo sauce on his ear, or Tabasco sauce on his ear?
It was like, I don't know. It was like something, but like the opposing manager made the umpire go and like rub his ear. It was so weird.
That whole time period, that whole thing was weird, because like pitchers got mad at the umpires for enforcing something. Like, I understand pitchers need like the rosin bag, like for stick and all of that, but they took it to such a degree where it was clearly cheating, and then they're getting mad at the umpires for knocking it down. So like, if anyone remembers, Sergio Romo literally pulled down his pants, and it's just like, what are we like? Grow the F up! Like, what are we talking about? Max Scherzer throwing a temper tantrum because they're enforcing the rules. Get
Okay,
over.
but Scherzer's was hilarious. He's
Right.
whenever he goes off, it's very funny because he looks like he's going to murder you. It's great.
Are you telling me that baseball players are weirdos, Eric?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I should have
Great
taken the
news.
hint when every bullpen bag is like a Barbie or a Pikachu bag.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's kind of fun. The Twins bullpen now is shotgunning Red Bulls. Like in the fourth inning now is like it's weird. We'll see if it works, but it's they showed a zoom in like in the fourth inning ritual one game.
Did you see a few weeks ago when I forget what the umpire? I think it was CB Buckner. But then you see Scherzer on the sideline doing the flip a coin.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
I think I know why Duran gave up 3 runs in the ninth. He was ready for a nap.
Yeah. Well, that was what was annoying. I think we talked about this in our Discord when we were watching it. I think like the Cleveland was obviously like happy to tie up the game to be back in it, but I also feel like both managers were like, it's okay if this ends here. Like, I don't want to.
I'm not saying Cade Smith blew the game on purpose because that's not true.
Right.
But he did everybody a favor. He did the Guardians bullpen a favor.
Yes. The same thing with
by giving up a run.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go into extra innings when you have another game you have to play.
And then you're playing four. And then you're playing 4 against the best team in baseball this weekend.
We had to do that last year. For some reason, the Tigers started off the year. We started off as like the last undefeated team, but only technically because we had 3 rainouts to start, and one of those was we had to do a Mets doubleheader, and the first game went to like 11 or 12 innings, and then we had to do another game after that. So you don't want to go into extras for the first game of the doubleheader. It's like actually the worst.
So nothing to really predict for the Twin series because we have to wait until September to actually figure it out. But
I was going to say, how does this work? No, do we count this as a series and it was a split?
I think it's a split, and then we have a 4-game series later in September.
So everybody's wrong.
Otherwise, we have to figure out which of the September games we count towards this series.
I say this is just all a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when this September, we'll just call it a 4-game series.
Just a big waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just to put a bow on it, game 2 was pretty close.
Yeah.
Well pitched ball game both ways. Gavin Williams was really good today for the first time in a while.
Yep.
And Paddock was good. I think he was fine. But Guardians kind of pulled away in the 9th.
Right.
And I don't know. Good W. Felt good to get back, like I said, to winning because it'd been a rough handful of days.
Right.
Yeah, I was hoping that the Twins could get through some of the Guardians bullpen to help us out for this 4-game series we have against Guardians next, because Tigers bullpen is a little stretched.
Most everybody got used today, but it was the B guys that got kind of overused, if anything.
And I've mentioned it earlier, like Paddock is such like his results are great, but like I think you saw it today. He pitched 5. I think he got into the 6th. He struck out 2 in like 5+, and then he walked or like loaded the bases when he left, and like that's kind of what he's been doing. And then like the bullpen will kind of come and save, or at least in my mind, that's what's been happening. So like I'll take positive results because a win's a win and a good start's a good start, especially with someone like Paddock. But I just walk away unimpressed. And then it was also like raining the entire time too, and it felt like,
oh my gosh,
they brought in Varland after that, and Varland couldn't throw a strike because he couldn't. I didn't love Varland.
It was hard
anyway, but
it was raining quite hard at that point in time, if I'm not mistaken. If you listen to Tom Hamilton, you'd think they needed to build an ark after the game.
Yeah,
he was talking about the rain. But
I heard, I didn't listen to the clip because I was at work, but I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw for the suspended game, because they stopped it after 2 innings and they started it again and then they suspended it. Yeah. I heard Tom Hamilton was really upset that they started the game again. So
I missed that, but that sounds right. I imagine he was. I love that guy, but he gets very enthusiastic, for lack of a better word, about all kinds of things.
not for nothing. Like that game was getting like the Twins won it, so like I'm happy about it, but that game was starting to get annoying. Like not only like the weather was flirting with the game the entire time. They start it, stop, suspend, and then the game goes fine. It's misting, and then they might go into extras, and then it was just like I was over that game. I'm so happy the Twins won and Cody Clemens had a walk off, but it was trying me.
Get it out of here.
Yep. Wipe it away, and now Cleveland plays Detroit. And I hope Detroit can go on a losing streak for the first time this year. That would be
We
great.
don't need a losing streak.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you
It's
do.
unnecessary. No, it's unnecessary.
All right.
I feel like the
Or-
division right now is the Tigers, and then a team that's feeling really good about itself, a team that's feeling okay, and a team that's like, oh God, are we about to fall out of it? Because I felt like the Guardians are the oh God, we're about to fall out of it team up until
Or if
3
the
hours ago.
Tigers, or if the Tigers go on a losing streak, we'll call it character building. How about that?
Right.
I
Well, like-
think that's kind of the whole. I think that's kind of the whole American League this year. Is you kind of have the Tigers and the Yankees sort of at the top, and then you have several, 6 or 7 teams bunched up in the middle, and then you have some crap teams at the bottom.
Yeah, let me look at the AL standings super quick. Because unless
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, if you look at the full,
Yep, they're right here. So Detroit up 5 games after today. I think this might be a little bit out of date because I think Cleveland and Minnesota were playing, but Detroit 33 up 5 games, and then it's really a tie for second: Minnesota, Kansas City, Cleveland.
it's really weird. If you look at the full American League, it's the Tigers, the Yankees, and the Mariners, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then you got Twins, Royals, Guardians, in terms of like win percentage. It's still really weird. The Tigers are the first team to 30 wins, and they're at 33 wins, and the next team in the American League, the Yankees, are at 28. It's really weird. I don't know what to do with myself.
To
Well, no,
everybody's point here, the Guardians, the Twins, and the Royals are all a mere 0.009 percentage points within each other's grasp. But my point was more to how if you're in that middle group, how you feel is kind of just dependent on how the last 5 games have gone.
Yeah.
Well, like not the last 10. The Twins 9-1, Kansas City and Cleveland 3-7. I mean, it's broken that because Cleveland.
If the season ended today, all 3 of those teams would be in the playoffs: Twins, Royals, and Guardians.
Yeah, which is fun.
The Guardians are the number 4, and they're a game and a half ahead of the Astros for the wild card spot.
Yeah.
You got that going.
Best division
exciting.
in baseball.
God damn it! We had I had to sit through a whole football season of NFC North where everyone else was winning, and then now I have to do the same thing with the Central. I can't do it again. Please, give me a division where we don't have everyone winning except for Chicago.
Well, like not to like keep harping on Detroit. I just want to see like if they're gonna have a 660 winning percentage. No one they've already won the division. Nobody has a chance to catch up to them. I just want to see them kind of come down so that likely is all 3 Central teams going to hold the wild card? No. So I would like the division to at least be somewhat in question going into September, but
That's fair.
We'll see.
I think that's the thing that worries me right now is that me and Oren were talking a lot about it last episode, but the fact of what happens when the Tigers lose 4 in a row or they 5 in a row or something. Because it is a young team and they're riding on a lot of momentum right now. What happens when that momentum runs out? And that's what I'm a little bit afraid of. I also looked back. The last time the Tigers won, they lost. Last time they lost more than 3 in a row was right after the All-Star break, which is
right.
So that was a while ago. That was before they got good,
Right.
So what happened?
And let me paint a scenario for you real quickly, and I'll ask you how badly this would hurt you.
Oh God.
The Tigers, they're the number 1 seed in the American League. They get the bye in the American League playoffs. A team goes against them in the second round who's has a lot fewer wins than they do. And then that team beats them in the first round of the playoffs, and the Tigers get one and done, just like the Detroit Lions.
I knew this.
How would that make you feel?
Pain. No, it would have, in order for me to feel even a tiny bit okay with it, it'd have to go it'd have to go to a tiebreaker game. No, I can't do it again. There's no way. Do you know how much that Commanders game hurt me? It's no. That would suck.
I mean, just to put a bow on this too, like I want Detroit to just go like start at like a 4-6 out of their last 10. Like show me that you're at least human, because you haven't been human at all this season.
That's
show me a weakness.
Started off 0-3. Is
no.
Hey, that's why there are 162 of these. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We still got a lot of season to go. We played 50 games. We got 112 to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. MLB had a very exciting idea. Maybe I should be more optimistic about this. It was rivalry week, so really it was a lot of not like the divisional rivalry. It seemed like whatever your interleague matchup was, if you were in the same state or shared a border, that's what it ended up being. I didn't know what our thoughts were on that, so that might be kind of fun to talk about. So who has their thoughts on their thoughts on rivalry weekend?
My initial reaction was, this isn't college football. We don't need a rivalry weekend. Like, I feel like they're trying to, I mean, I guess it worked for the MLB because they got a huge upswing in attendance and whatever. But like, I think they're trying to make it something, and it's just not going to, it doesn't work. But like, they're going to keep doing it because they made a lot of money off of it. But like, some of these matchups are like, yeah, okay, Mets Yankees, that is a rivalry. It's not like the rivalry for the Yankees or the Mets, but like, it's a rivalry. And then you got like Mariners and Padres. That's not a thing.
Let's go through these real quick, because these are the 15 rivalries that were selected for rivalry weekend. And by the way, rivalry weekend is too hard to say, especially as Midwesterners. It's too many R's and like an E and then a W sound and then another E sound back to back. I don't like it. So
I have a speech impediment that affects my ability to say R's, L's, and W's. This is torture. I know.
Exactly. So Astros, Rangers. Sure.
They share a division, they share a state, I guess.
Yeah. Cubs, White Sox. Fine. Guardians, Reds, Dan.
It's close enough. It's close enough.
Pirates, Phillies, sure. Nationals, Orioles, sure. Mets, Yankees, again, sure. Tigers, Blue Jays. I mean, like when I saw that was one of the ones where I was like, that's a stretch.
So there is history.
The Battle of Windsor.
The Battle of Windsor. Whoever wins that gets to take over Windsor. There is history behind it. Like Blue Jays were in the same division as the Tigers for a while, and I don't know if we want to get too deep into rivalry history right now, but like
may as well.
So they shared a division for a little bit when they were in the AL East, right? And so I had to ask my dad for like, were they actually like a big rivalry? But like, so I guess like if you ask older generations, they still hate the Blue Jays. But like, so in 1984, that's the year the Tigers started off 35-5. They won division, they won the World Series, and the Blue Jays were right behind them for like a good part of the season. They were second in the division. 87 is actually really interesting. So there, 2 of the last 3 series for the Tigers were against Toronto, and that was like to determine the division winner. So it was in Toronto. Toronto took that series, and then it was whoever else for the Tigers. Let's see, Baltimore apparently, and then the last series of the year, it was Toronto at Tiger Stadium, and Tigers swept them to secure the division over them. So I guess that was like a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but like, my point is, I guess that rivalry was a bigger deal in the '80s. Also, something that's worth noting for like Tigers Blue Jays in general, Blue Jays series are actually one of the busier visiting series that we get at Comerica. Because I mean, we're right next to Canada, right? Like we have a bunch of Canadian fans, but there's also a bunch of Toronto Blue Jays fans that come from Canada to Detroit because it's like, it's literally right there.
Same thing happens in Minnesota.
Yeah, so we get a lot of visiting Blue Jays fans. So I'd say now it's like more of a friendly rivalry because there's a lot of friendship between Detroit and like Canada in general. But like, I mean, there is some history behind it. It's just like, I guess, but it's not the first thing that I would think of, or I imagine many people under the age of 30 is like, yeah, I hate the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
but there's history behind it.
So, go ahead, Sam.
I'm just going to go through the rest of the rivalries. Braves at Red Sox.
That's weird. I was going to point that out.
No.
What is that?
So weird.
Because the Braves that's like going back to like the 40s. That the Braves were the Boston Braves.
Boston.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's right.
But I think of the Braves as being the Milwaukee Braves before they were the Atlanta Braves. So that one doesn't make sense. Rays, Marlins, again,
they share
sure.
State. That's like the only thing.
Royals, Cardinals, that's a rivalry. I'll get into that one a little bit later. Twins at Brewers, is that a rivalry for you, Eric?
No. Like, it's kind of like the Brewers are kind of like the Twins' drinking cousin. Like, we hang out, we're friendly. I guess we would prefer to win, but I mean, really what it comes down to is like Paul Molitor grew up in St. Paul and was a Hall of Fame player essentially for the Brewers. So like we're playing for his heart every year, but not really. Like it's forced. I guess it's more fun. It's a family get together when they play the Brewers.
Sure.
I feel like the problem for a lot of these, right, is there's a lot of one-sided rivalries, right? Yeah. So like Cubs, right? It's Cubs, Cardinals, Cubs, White Sox, Cubs, Brewers. But they had to have the Cubs only face one of those. And so they had to have Cubs, White Sox. And so who do you have the Brewers against? The Twins, you guess, because they're the closer one.
I do want to just before I go on to this point, because I need a reason to pull up this clip. But does anyone, if there's one like rivalry from the National League that like people will still legitimately get upset about, it is this clip. If you remember from the 1991 World Series, Ron Gant was on base, and Kent Hrbek the footage will show, but Kent Hrbek may have helped Ron Gant's foot off of the bag. And he was called out. Now, you can determine for yourself if Kent Hrbek was just simply applying the tag, or if, I don't know, maybe hoisted just a little bit.
That's just as egregious as I've ever seen.
And that's the Braves Twins. That's a famous World Series.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a better rivalry to choose than that random, So anyway, but then D-backs and Rockies, I mean, they're in the same division. They're kind of the same area. I mean, I guess.
I think part of the problem, too, is there's all these expansion teams that have only existed for 30 years. That's not enough time to build up deep rivalries.
Well, not for nothing. Okay, on that same vein, shouldn't then if you're going to do a rivalry with with Arizona, make it Tampa Bay? They came in at the same time.
Yeah, that would work too. This is the worst one, in my opinion. Mariners at Padres. And I am going to read you the text verbatim that is written on MLB.com that explains this rivalry.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
Better cup, baby.
Quote, This season marks the first official year of the quote-unquote Vedder Cup, an ode to Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder, once a resident of both Seattle and San Diego. The winner of the season series will earn a trophy featuring a guitar presented by Vedder himself. Fans will also have the opportunity to buy Vedder Cup merchandise during the series, with the Padres hosting a Vedder Cup Series game on Saturday. The Mariners have a 68-63 all-time mark against the Padres, dating back to 1997.
Do you know
Are we
what's funny?
trying to make fetch happen?
Yes. Do you know what's funny about that? Eddie Vedder is a Twins fan.
Exactly. Exactly.
He does
No,
not
I
care.
saw-
That one is the worst one in my opinion.
Like,
But then the
I
other
keep-
two are Angels, Dodgers, A's, Giants, which both
A's
of those.
Giants like frustrates me
that's not-
greatly.
But they're not in
Oakland.
Oakland anymore.
They're not sharing
a bay
anymore.
Sacramento.
Do you know
They
what
don't
they
share
did?
the-
I saw like the Giants are trying to like get A's fans to convert to Giants
I'm pretty
convert
much,
to the Giants, and they're doing it in like a really condescending, bad way because they're doing all this stuff, but then also I think they swept the A's. And at the end of the games, they played the song that Oakland Coliseum would play at the end of A's games.
Oh,
Like, that's not. No, that's just mean.
It's not going to work.
no.
That's not going to win you any
Well,
favors.
if you want to win Oakland's fans, just show up like a nasty picture of John Fisher and like some horrible cartoon animation. You're gonna get them. Like
I
Mhm.
saw an article where they interviewed like one of the guys in charge of like one of the big anti John Fisher Oakland A's fan movement things, and he said something like, "They're not going to win us over. The owners voted to move us. Like, we all know that. This isn't
Yeah.
stop trying to like be on our side."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I
those
just-
are the 15 rivalries.
I just want to point out 9 of those were sures. The majority
Yeah.
were okay.
Fine.
But
I think it would be more successful if they just had a weekend where they had like the six of the good ones or 5 of the good ones, and they're like called their rivalry weekend. They don't need to make it with all 30 teams.
Right.
Just make it with like 10 of the teams, and then that's good enough, right?
'Cause
I'm a little more open to this premise than you guys are. And I'm not going to say it's wonderful and the greatest thing ever or anything like that. But nothing is a thing until
right.
everybody decides it's a thing. And I get that it seems forced at the moment. I'm willing to give this a handful of years, see how it goes, kind of thing. And maybe it'll remain stupid. Maybe it won't.
The one thing I will say, I did crap on this pretty hard, and I probably will continue. But like, Rivalry Week is not geared for us. It is geared for casual fans who are trying to get back in. And it was, I guarantee it started like the Mets and the Yankees are playing this weekend. Let's try to build it up so that we're getting more eyeballs on this one weekend, so more people view this week. And I'm fine with that. Not everything has to gear towards the diehard baseball fans because they have us.
Yeah, it's just a little funny when they're like, "Oh, let's review some of the hot moments between the Tigers and the Blue Jays," and it's Justin Verlander throwing a no-hitter 13 years ago.
Yeah,
and I don't hate it. I think that I agree with Dan that it's not a thing until it becomes a thing. I think they need to rethink the way that they are approaching this. I remember a couple years ago, the NFL tried to do a thing where, like, week 1, they branded it as Rivalry Weekend, and the Chiefs were playing the Arizona Cardinals that weekend.
What?
And the logic was Cliff Kingsbury was Patrick Mahomes' college coach, and Cliff Kingsbury was the coach of the Cardinals at that time. So that's what made it a rivalry.
right.
I
mean, sure, why not?
I think the point here is if you're going to do rivalries, they need to be authentic.
Yes,
And
not just
right through it.
They're interleague games. That's all they are.
Most of them. I mean, Tigers and Blue Jays was, it's all
it was
American
11 of the 15 were interleague.
And if we're gonna do all interleague, then do all interleague. Don't try and make new rivalries that don't exist. Like the Tigers' assigned interleague rival is the Pirates. presumably because of the first World Series or whatever. But I think a lot of people, this isn't just me, but like a lot of people like, yeah, they looked at two Rust Belt blue collar cities and went, yeah, let's pair them together. But it's really forced and it doesn't exist.
Honus Wagner kicked Kai Cobb's ass in that World Series. So.
Oh yeah, man, that gets me really fired up.
I do think maybe we stumbled onto something where, I don't know, you'd have to rebrand it as this, but what if you did cool World Series from the past weekend instead? You need a better name.
Yeah, that would be.
But
there's like,
one
team.
Isn't that just the Field of Dream games? Like the Field of Dream games, like that, just make it that. Like, and that's fine.
World Series rematch weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Cubs
all
Guardians
World
would
Series
be probably
rematches.
the Guardians one.
And then have Kent Herbeck throw out a first pitch in Atlanta and just watch.
Now, granted,
made it to the World Series. Well, that would just make the Mariners feel bad.
You would have a limited number of, of things that you could do, but I think that's a decent idea, Dan.
Yeah, that'd be.
There are certain teams that they don't have a cool World Series to choose, so you'd have to figure that out. But just as a general premise, I think it's a cool idea that we kind of stumbled on.
That's a good idea.
I like, and I'll say, I like Rivalry Weekend a lot better than if MLB were to try to do some other grab eyeballs early in the season thing, like have an in-season tournament like the NBA has.
Oh, that's weird. I don't watch the NBA, but like that seems silly to me. A tournament.
It's
weird.
It's really not that bad because it's just basically the season with a little bit more intrigue to it. But again, it's
the players are trying 10% harder.
Yeah.
Can someone explain to me why the courts need to look like a bleeding eyeball?
They just want you to be able to know that's an in-season tournament game. That's the stated reason, at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
We want to talk about who the actual rivals are, we think, for each team. Because, I mean, so Tigers, I'd say the teams that we don't like is Guardians, White Sox, Twins, Yankees, kind of the Giants, Cardinals, and Astros. And like I said, Blue Jays if you go into the older gens. But I think the main ones it's going to be Guardians and White Sox. Those are the two biggest ones. I think Twins are kind of Twins too, but White Sox is just older because we've played each other 2,000 times, so that's fun. Right. But Guardians has the bonus of Michigan and Ohio thing. So
yeah,
that's
I would say.
When I was growing up, it was always the Indians because we were winning the division and the Indians were always right there too, and the White Sox too. For some reason, the Twins were not good when I was a kid.
No, they were not.
Yeah, but Guardians and White Sox are the biggest rivals for the Tigers. I think I personally put the Guardians over the White Sox because that's the team I hate more. So I don't know how much that's personalized to me, but also, I mean, Michigan, Ohio, it writes itself.
I would say that the Royals-Cardinals rivalry is probably pretty accurate. I do think it's a bit of a one-sided rivalry. I think Royals fans have a lot more dislike for Cardinals fans than the other way around. I think the biggest thing is the Cardinals kind of see us as their little brother, whereas we see the Cardinals as our annoying cousin, who you have to put up with at Thanksgiving.
That's funny because in my head, I thought the Cardinals were the rich kid at school, and the Royals were the chippy everyone's pulling for in the movie. That's just
me. But it's the whole idea of this Royals Cardinals series is something I have to put up with 6 games a year, and something I kind of roll my eyes at and go, oh my God, we have to go play the Cardinals, because the only reason I root against the Cardinals is because the fans of the Cardinals are just so annoying, and they're often described as the best fans in baseball. And I just could not be I just could not be more annoyed with that moniker, because especially with where I grew up, there were so many kids who I went to school with who in 2011 and 2013, when the Cardinals were in the World Series, walking around school wearing Albert Pujols jerseys, and Albert was gone by 2013. But anyway, um, then a year later, the Royals are in the World Series, and suddenly they're walking around wearing Lorenzo Cain jerseys. And I just got so mad because I was like, no, Landon Seabaugh, no, Johnny Bristino, you are not Royals fans. You were wearing you're just a fair weather fan. And that really annoyed me. So it's just kind of something you have to deal with. And of course, all the Cardinals fans who come to Kauffman Stadium for that series in Kansas City. Um, it used to be that there was a lot more Cardinals fans than Royals fans because of what I just described. In the last couple of years, it's gotten better just because of, the fact that the Royals aren't complete garbage trash in 2024, and the fact that they've won more recently than the Cardinals have at this point. But yeah, I just hate it because I have to hear about the fact that the Cardinals have won 11 World Series and the Royals have only won 2. And
But you do have the most recent one.
I do have the most recent one. And what's even better is the fact that 100% of the Royals World Series had black people on the field. And the Cardinals cannot say the same thing. So, I'm against segregation. So I don't know. I don't know
that's what
if
pushes you over the edge.
I don't know if the Cardinals fans, maybe they're in favor of segregation in baseball, but that's just me. So, but no, in all seriousness, this is another hot take that I have about baseball: is that we need to separate things by pre-integration, post-integration, similar to how we separate things in football by pre-Super Bowl and post-Super Bowl. Um,
I can't wait
because
for the algorithm to take that out of context. It's going to be great.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, but there's that little Cardinals Royals breakdown for you.
Dan, who do you hate?
Oh man. So this is, I don't know, mildly interesting. I I was curious of something about a year ago. I I wear the Guardians hat most of the time on the show. I collect ball caps in general for just fitted hat,
Yeah.
each team. I've got most of them at this point. But at one point, I was curious of what hats maybe I shouldn't wear around Cleveland because they won't go well.
Mhm.
So I just, at some point, somebody on Reddit had done, who was our rival, this exact topic. And the top 5 teams that came out of that were the Yankees, which,
Mm.
is it fair to say everybody hates the Yankees?
Yes,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would
Okay.
say
Great.
100%.
so. Yeah,
The
that's
Yankees,
something I could have said for the Royals, but that's going back to like the 70s, 80s. So
everybody has Yankees history where you were the team along with the Yankees that were vying for the AL, and the Yankees won.
The Tigers and
Uh,
Yankees rivalry is like understated, I think.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
historical.
So Yankees, Astros, self-explanatory.
Mhm.
And then you get into the division teams, Twins and Tigers, which I feel like is right. I agree with a lot of what Lee said about kind of the Cleveland Detroit thing. One, it's Michigan's involved. Two, there's in the last 20 years been times where both teams have been quite good at the same time, vying for the division. Just personally, as mentioned, I follow the NBA. The Pistons and the Cavs have been good at the same times too. So I kind of think of Cleveland's main rival in general, outside of the NFL at least, because Pittsburgh. But outside of football, Detroit's our main rival in just in general, I think. And then the Twins. I mean, I can think back to mid 2000s, Jason Davis fighting Jock Jones, or at least having a shouting altercation. Do you remember that, Eric? Or okay,
Vaguely,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, so do I, very vaguely. But again, been good at the same time a lot. I think the Twins rivalry right now is kind of interesting just because of everything we've talked about the last couple episodes.
Right.
Just the way we've kind of snatched victories away. Maybe that's me thinking it's fun because I'm in the better position there. I don't know. But those two to me feel right. And then the last one's the Cubs, just because of the World Series in 2016, which I don't know if you'd call that a rivalry, but we feel a way about that to a point
Right.
still. So
I think it's less of
those
a
five
rivalry
teams.
and more of just a grudge holding type.
I think that's fair.
That's kind of what it is for the Tigers against the Cardinals and the Giants. Like less the Giants of the Cardinals, because the Giant for the 2012 series, we really just shot ourselves in the foot for that one. But like, don't really like the Cardinals because they beat us in the World Series. So it's kind of
just a sour feeling.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of wrap this up, the Ohio Cup, which is what the Guardians and the Reds play for every year. Been home here in Cleveland every year since 2015 when they first invented the Ohio Cup. So talk about one-sided. 76-62 the Guardians are against the Reds. Lifetime. I will say they got swept this weekend in Cincinnati. So the Ohio Cup may be finding a new home for the first time ever. We'll see. Beyond that, I think there's a little bit of something there with this, but it's definitely forced. I will say Jensen Lewis was one of the pregame, postgame show guys for the Guardians up until this year, former reliever on the team. He cared about the Ohio Cup. He'd bring it up every chance he could. I think Jensen Lewis is the only guy that really cared all that much, and he doesn't work for the organization anymore. So it's worth paying attention to, but it's not as deep as it's made out to be. Lastly,
sorry, go ahead.
This just a silly fun fact I found when I was kind of researching all this. CC Sabathia, former Cy Young Award winner, former Indians pitcher, he had 3 career home runs, and of course interleague used to have the pitcher hitting in the National League park. 2 of the home runs CC Sabathia hit in his career were against the Cincinnati Reds. Known like good hitting pitcher, by the way, CC, but just found that funny that 2/3 of the home runs he hit in his career came against the vaunted Cincinnati Reds rival.
It's not baseball, but is there a big Browns-Bengals rivalry for football?
I'd say of the 3 teams, that's the smallest of the rivalries, but Browns fans don't like any of the division teams.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, from what I've heard, the Browns don't even like winning, so...
That's also painfully true. It's weird, though, because the Bengals were founded, whatever you want to call it, by the same guy that made the Browns famous. So it's kind of odd, Paul Brown. But
well, and also I think the at least the current version of the Browns has the same problem that the Royals do, which is that they've been around for much less amount of time than most of the other teams, and they've been a non-factor for most of their history. That it's just like,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Pittsburgh people still don't like the Browns. It's just historically that way, and it's not going to go away. But in general, I think a lot of teams don't take the Browns seriously for good reason. You're right.
Yeah, it's Lions. So
I don't take the Browns seriously, and I live here. So
yeah,
I think if you're going to ask any Twins fan my age, and we've already determined I'm ancient, but the mid-2000s, it was all about the White Sox, like the Jim Thome, Paul Konerko, Frank Thomas, like that team. Miguel Ordonez was also a pain in the butt. That's probably that's the rivalry I want to have happen again. So don't get me wrong, I love that the White Sox are now considered the worst team in baseball history, and I'm kind of bummed that the Rockies are probably going to take that from them this year. But I want the White Sox to be good and have expectations and then fail in the most catastrophic way possible. That brings me so much bliss. I would go back and listen to Hawk Harrelson cry every time the White Sox lost. That's how petty I got during this rivalry. And I want that back. It's not as fun with Steve Stone, though, because I kind of like him.
I will say, as a fan of a team who has been bad for the past 8 years, but is now finally good again, it's good to have a reason to hate the other teams in the division again, rather than just being like, yeah, we suck and you beat us. It's because we're playing the Guardians this weekend, right? And now it's that they knocked us out of the playoffs last season, which is it's fun to have a legitimate reason to hate the Guardians.
Yeah,
gonna be
I
good.
would say for the Twins, it's the number 2 team is easily the Yankees, and that's just because they've not only won against the Twins in the playoffs, they've swept them out for the last 20 years. I think there's even a stat that the Yankees have a losing record in the playoffs if you take out the Twins record. Like, that sucks. I would say the most annoying team to play, unsurprisingly, the Guardians. It's just unbelievable how they can go from lifeless until the 8th inning and then just put a guy on, and you can almost feel like it's like that first domino falls, and you're like, well, shoot, we're up 3, but here they come again. And they do that so often. Outside of Max Kepler going deep against Trevor Bauer 3 straight at bats, and
he owned Bauer, by
yes,
the
he
way.
did.
Just not to get off on an aside, but yeah, he did.
Yeah. And then there's like one, and I remember it distinctly, 2023 Miles Straw coming up short against a diving catch that really like won the division for the Twins that year. Outside of that, it's so hard playing Cleveland. But that's really it for rivalries. I'm kind of meh. Like I'm annoyed at the Tigers, but that's just because they're leading the division at like such a clip. Like they're clearly like a step above, as the person who said his team was a step above and is now regretting that. Like
We have 50 games where the Tigers are on top, and now everyone's like, "Yeah, I hate the Tigers now."
right. Well, I would just because it's been like they have outclassed the division the entire way, and it's been like everyone is like drowning, like trying to get above water, and then you have the Tigers like on top of the boat, like hitting people out with paddles, like. But I'm happy for the Tigers, but like I do want them to be human again. But I've said that a couple of times. So, anyone have any other thoughts on Rivalry Week? If I speak for Oren, I think he also hates the Twins as much as I hate the White Sox, and he probably hates the Cubs just as much as I hate the Yankees.
I feel like from an outside perspective, the past few years, it's really been the Cubs just beating up on the White Sox. Now I just feel kind of bad for them. It's like the Cubs are the bullies shoving the White Sox into lockers.
Wow.
I think they're at 9 in a row losing to the Cubs, I think. So.
Now that I think of it, I think like if there's one thing that beats the Twins in the rivalry, it's Jerry Reinsdorf is probably the most hated person in Chicago, and then it's the Twins, and then it's whoever, probably then the Cubs, but
the White Sox biggest rival is their owner.
Is their own owner.
I think it's very funny. The Pope thing has added something to the Cubs White Sox rivalry, I think. Just because there's so many jokes about it. It's now the Cubs, because the Cubs swept the White Sox, it's the Pope a Cubs fan now. It's
I mean, Reinsdorf should be worried because the Pope has a direct line to the big man himself, and he can knock him out like with one player.
I saw a great tweet that was like, I forget if it was the Cubs or the Mariners, but like someone hit a home run against the White Sox, and someone tweeted out the video and was like, I just imagine the Pope sadly looking at this in play runs on the MLB app.
Let's hope that would be great.
You've heard of the Ohio Cup. You've heard of the Vetter Cup. Get ready for the Pope Cup.
Pope Cup.
The White Sox and Cubs. I do have one quick White Sox thought related to the Guardians, and that's just that when the Tim Anderson, Jose Ramirez thing happened, it was funny because Noah Syndergaard had just been signed by the Guardians like a week before that. He had made 2 starts. He might have started that game, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to fact check me on that. But anyway, he was quoted after that game being like, I've been here a week. It was one of those situations where we played the White Sox in Chicago. Then we went home, played 3, and then played the White Sox again. He said something along the lines of, I've been with this team for a week, and I can tell that these 2 teams don't like each other.
Yeah.
Just being here for a week.
Right.
So I think in that moment, and a lot of that had to do with the players that were on the White Sox at the time and their manager and all that, but that was heated more than just that night at that point in time.
Because that went back, that was really just like that year. Maybe I'm wrong, but was it really that year because they thought Anderson had a dirty slide going? No, maybe it was the other way. I can't remember. There was a slide at third or something.
Anderson was known for being kind of punchy with the tags.
There you go.
Trying to knock people off base and stuff like that. Kind of like Kent Herbeck.
How dare you?
But Jose, I think, was holding on to that for a while, and it escalated from there.
I just thought of something because I said that the Twins weren't very good when I was a kid, which is mostly true. But like right before I started getting into baseball is the game 163 between the Twins and the Tigers, which is a big thing for that rivalry.
Not for me, but yeah, I remember that. There's a game 163 the year after against the White Sox. That was the last game in the Metrodome, regular season game in the Metrodome. That was a lot of fun.
That game 163 with the Twins and the Tigers is one of the better regular series games. It didn't go the Tigers' way, but like it ended in a walk-off, and that's like one of the epic ways to end a battle for a playoffs type thing.
Yep.
So, thought I should throw that out there.
Yeah. Anyone have any final thoughts on Rivalry Week, or should we talk about the schedule? Talking about the schedule. So we'll do it quick because there's not a lot of division except for Cleveland is going to Detroit. Then Detroit goes to San Francisco and then Kansas City next week, but we'll record before then. The Twins, you see the one game with Kansas City or with Chicago. The Twins play the Royals next, Tampa Bay, and then Seattle. The Royals, again, at the Twins, back to Cincinnati, and then Detroit. Guardians go to Detroit. LA, the Dodgers, and then the Angels. They go on a tour of LA. And the White Sox, Texas. The Mets and the Orioles. Actually, I'm off Monday. I might actually go to that game. That might be kind of fun. Anyway, so I guess I lied. We actually have 2 games that we need to predict. So depending on how we feel about the Twins Guardians game, I think we're calling that an official wash. And we have to have Minnesota Minnesota versus KC. But do we want to re-predict KC and Detroit? We kind of jumped the gun on that one.
Cleveland and Detroit.
Sorry, Cleveland and Detroit. This is what we had last week. Lee picked Detroit, Oren split, Sam split, Dan Detroit, and then I picked Cleveland. Anyone wants to change their pick?
I'm going to stand by what I said. I'm going to keep mine.
It would warm my heart to knock Detroit off their perch this weekend. Objectively, I don't think I can make that statement right now.
Sam?
Yeah, I'll stick with what I've got for that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll leave those all the same. I think we're calling this a scratch, so big waste to everyone's time. Next up, Minnesota versus Kansas City. Lee, who you got?
Oh, man. Okay, who's pitching for Kansas City? If it's the guys that they just pulled up from AAA, I'm going to say Minnesota.
Aren't 3 of their starting rotation on the IL?
I know that Noah Cameron is pitching on Friday just because that was news here in town. I think it's going to be, I can look at it real quick for you, but at least one of them will be.
I think for the Twins, it's probably going to be Zebby or David Festa if they flip him, and then it's going to be Ryan and Lopez.
All right, I think I'm going to go Minnesota for this one. Because Kansas City relies on their pitching, and they've got a lot of pitching out right now.
It's going to be Cameron, Waka, and Bubic for those 3 games.
Ooh, so. Wait. Waka and Bubic. I'm going to keep Minnesota for this one. I think Minnesota's pitching is good, and Kansas City offense is bad.
Sam?
I'll go with the Royals. I think the Royals have maybe gained some confidence winning a series against the Giants. I'm hoping that the bats will start to heat up a little bit. And then still with the pitching, those 3 guys, Cameron, Bubic, and Waka, have been pretty good this year. So I'll go with the Royals.
Dan?
Cody Clemens has a key hit in one of these games.
Again.
And Minnesota wins the series.
I mean, I'm going to pick Minnesota. They're on a hot streak, but what I will say is they are like teetering on the brink of going into like a skid. They have no depth. The lineups they are putting out are not impressive. Brooks Lee is batting third. He's barely above 700 for an OPS. Royce Lewis is heating up, but he's still in like the mid 600s. So like Ryan Jeffers is leading off. He's at like 750. Once you get past the 5 spot, and that's including a Cody Clemens whose OPS is still over 1,000, we're going into like 500, 300 OPSs. Like it really takes a fall. If Correa and Buxton can come off the concussion list, that's huge. They have Wallner. Hopefully his rehab, he's probably a week away. But like the Twins are very close to going back into a skid, I think.
I'm going to say this game is going to be really close. I think one of them is going to go into Expos.
Yeah.
One extra
2 minutes ago when we thought that the Royals promoted guys were going to be pitching, I was really looking forward to a depleted Royals rotation facing a depleted Twins lineup.
Yeah, great.
We're not going to have that. So
regardless,
I think the Twins
versus movable.
I mean, we can just watch Omaha versus St. Paul, can't we? Like, is that basically what's going on?
I didn't realize Guardians. You got to go against the 2 best teams in baseball back to back. This
is a big week for the Guardians.
Yeah.
I'm glad we won today because the plane ride would have been really rough to Detroit today.
Right,
losing 6 in a row.
Are both is Cleveland bullpen a bit short because Tigers bullpen? We had a bullpen day today. It worked out for us 5-1, but we've had to use our bullpen a lot recently.
The B team guys, the Jacob Junis, Kobe Allard, Joey Cantillo all got used for like 2 innings in that first suspended game today. So those guys are a little worn. All the A team guys pitched an inning at most. And I think it would behoove the Guardians to find a starter that can go at least 6 on Thursday or Friday to kind of help stem the tide. But the bullpen's okay. It also, we didn't play for 3 days basically. So those guys are fairly fresh.
Yeah, it's looking like it was a little interesting at first because we did a bullpen day today and we pushed Flaherty's start back, but it looks like Skubal is going to be pitching against the Guardians. There's going to be Flaherty, Job, Mize, and Skubal.
That just tells me AJ Hinch respects the Guardians enough that he wanted to make sure he had Jack Flaherty for this series.
Flaherty tore you guys up last year.
Yeah, like we don't hit him. We don't hit him well.
Yeah,
I'd be curious what his lifetime numbers are against the Guards. To be honest with you.
Can I put you all? Can I put you all on the spot for like one last like spot segment?
Give it a shot.
Pick a player who's going to be the difference maker. Like who's a player that's going to make a difference this week?
This is not for the Tigers, but I am going to put Jose Ramirez at 1.5 home runs this series because he always hits one against every series against the Tigers. But difference maker for the Tigers, I think it's going to be Riley Green. He's been so good lately. He's been on a tear. He's going to be a big guy.
The question.
I'm going to
go ahead, Sam.
I'm going to go with Salvi. He historically hits really well at target field. I think he
ever just God.
I think Salvi maybe has the best OPS of any non-twin at target field.
I'm going
to go with Salvi.
I'm pretty sure second is Carlos Correa, ironically, when he was with the Astros. And then Jose Bautista murdered them. But yeah, I think I forgot about Jose Salvador freaking Perez. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, who are you thinking?
Is the question who's going to have come up big in the series that we're playing against the Tigers, or just who's going to be big for the Guardians?
Who's coming up for the Guardians? So who can in that you can take that multiple ways. Is that a pitcher that if they do well, they might swing the series or collapse it
So I'll talk about the first one first because that's what I was thinking. Gleyber Torres talked to the Guardians this offseason before signing with Detroit. It would not surprise me if he got a big double or something at some point in the next 4 days.
He was really good in the playoffs for the Yankees.
He also hurt. Too. Yes, he was. To answer the actual question, Tanner Bybee wants to be an ace. The Guardians want him to be an ace. He's going tomorrow against Jack Flaherty. Tanner, it's time to get rid of the home run balls and to pitch like an ace. So that's my answer.
All right. I pulled up Jack Flaherty's career stats against Cleveland. He is 2 for 2 with an ERA of 1.96, 36 strikeouts in 7 appearances.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and he had 3 starts. He had 4 starts against Cleveland last year, 3 of the Tigers. He gave up. He had. Let me do this math. 22 strikeouts between the 4 appearances. 22 strikeouts, 3 earned runs. So.
And he would have had one other start, but he was pulled from it because he was about to get traded last year.
Yeah. So that's gonna be Jack has been really up and down so far, but he had a really good start against the Blue Jays. It would have been he only had 2 earned runs. It would have been 0 if the umpire had eyes, but that's a separate.
No bitterness there.
Yeah, no, none. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, that's gonna be a good game for us. Yeah.
To finish off with the Twins, Royce Lewis has been heating up, but he has a 600 OPS. If he's going to be a 600 OPS guy the rest of the season, they are in trouble. He has to start heating up here. I like continuous heat up, so I'm going to pick him. So maybe that will become a thing if you guys like it. If not, we'll never hear from this again. So anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to circle back real quick to rivalry weekend. I was just working on this while we were talking here. I almost made it work, Dan, with the previous World Series weekend matchup. I almost made it work. So the here's what I've got. I've got Cardinals versus Brewers. Brewers have only had 1 World Series appearance. Rockies versus Red Sox. Again, Rockies have only had 1 World Series appearance. Rays versus Dodgers. You would have to use the COVID season for that one.
The Freeman
counts.
Sure. Tigers versus Padres. Again, Padres have only made it to 2 World Series. Giants versus Angels, but that's a famous World Series, so I feel like you kind of have to use that one. Nationals versus Astros. Again, only 1 World Series for the Nationals. Diamondbacks versus Rangers. That's a more recent one. Yeah. Blue Jays versus Phillies. Also another famous World Series with the walk-off home run to win the World Series. Yeah. Royals versus Mets. Cubs versus Guardians. Twins versus Braves. Orioles versus Pirates. A's versus Reds. And Yankees versus Marlins. Those are
that's
all
so funny to say. Oh, those franchises have gone off in different directions.
But the Marlins have only had 2 World Series, and the only other one is against the Guardians. But if you're doing a World Series weekend, you're doing Cubs Guardians.
You gotta.
Yeah. What do you do with the teams? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The only ones I couldn't make work were the Mariners. Because obviously they've never made the World Series. And then the White Sox, they played the World Series against the Astros, which doesn't work because you have to put them up against the Nationals. And then they've got a bunch of World Series. I think they have way like 100 years ago, they have some World Series against like the Tigers and the Cubs, which also don't work because, but I was able to make 14 out of 15
Not
work.
bad.
With that, so MLB, hit me up.
Yeah.
Just one suggestion: can we have the Rockies face the College World Series winner?
Yeah, you just have to get the Mariners and the White Sox to play in the what do we call that? How do we connect the Mariners and the White Sox?
You have to put them in the turn forward the clock jerseys from 1998.
Yes.
You could pretend they're playing like a future World Series from 30 years from now.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, yeah. Well, they're both in the AL, so
in 2045, when Barack Obama is the commissioner of Major League Baseball, he's going to decide to move the White Sox to the National League or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go.
And some of these are kind of like because obviously like there are teams that have switched leagues, but
And right now, Marlins Yankees would be extremely underwhelming.
It would be, but that's the one you have to like. There's a couple, like I said, there's a couple in here where it's like, in order to make it work, you like by rights, like it should be Diamondbacks Yankees,
Yeah, that's who I thought of too.
right?
Yeah, you
But
could.
that
I
again,
think it'd be easier to say who the Yankees haven't faced in the World Series than to say who they have, because it's,
well, my initial idea was have it be Yankees Mariners to make the Mariners work. So you can just have the team with the most World Series and the team with no World Series.
That's just mean.
that's mean.
Yeah, that would just be mean though. But anyway, that I was able to I cobbled that together in about 5 minutes. So
Nice
I'm
cobbling.
sure MLB could probably come up with something different. But that's a decent idea for an MLB weekend adventure.
Yeah,
So,
maybe it'd be a little
but-
more. Maybe this would be more. I don't know what the word would be, but like if you could do famous playoff matchups, but not World Series.
Sure.
Yeah. Either
Great moments in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that's like really broad, but like I mean, you could market
Not-
around that.
Not to rehash it, but I think like if MLB want, like, I think the setting matters more for baseball more than any other sport. So I love like the Field of Dream games. I like the Japan games. So like lean into that. I even like, nobody will ever do this, but like I would love a franchise in Mexico City, even though it's like what, thousands
way
more
higher
feet
than
above
I think it's like
Colorado.
7,000
You couldn't do
feet
it, but like I think
elevation.
that would be so fun to have a team in Mexico City, like the amount of support they would get. But it's not going to happen. That's why they have the World Baseball Classic. So, now anyway, I think with that we're going to call it. We'll save all of these wonderful ideas. Manfred, you're welcome. We expect the check. It's in the mail. For the rest of you, we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you later, Rob.